Hello, everyone. Welcome to Everything Arsenal. We are back again with Koze. A reliable source in Italy has confirmed that Victor Osimhen is waiting for Arsenal to make an offer for him so that he can make his move to the Emirates Stadium. What does that mean for Arsenal? What does that mean for Arteta's plans for next season? Will that affect the Sesko deal? We'll be talking about that. And also, Mikel Arteta wants Fabio Vieira to stay at Arsenal next season. Do you share that same opinion, or do you want Fabio Vieira to leave Arsenal this summer? Before that, how are you, cousin?
I'm absolutely doing very well. It's a new week, new energy. I feel very, very fine. Now, I've seen the stories on Victor Osimhen, got me excited a little bit, and I was actually waiting for this show because I knew we would talk about Osimhen, and I wanted to kind of just come on here and just disagree with you a little bit. So I'm really, really ready, ready for it. I hope you're also doing fine.
I am doing absolutely well. So reports today have confirmed exactly what I said in the intro, and this is what Gazzetta dello Sport said. Victor Osimhen is expecting an offer from Arsenal or Saudi Arabia. Osimhen dreams of playing in the Premier League with the move to Saudi Arabia more a temptation for Napoli than the player. Napoli are insistent on his 130 million euro release clause being paid. So obviously for the team Napoli, they would prefer him to go to Saudi Arabia so that they can get as much money as possible. But the player
Yeah.
himself is not interested. And fair play to him because at this particular age, I don't feel like it's worth it. Yeah, you can go and get the money, but before you play in England, before you play in Spain, at least you need to test out yourself in the Champions League more, maybe a World Cup a couple of times before moving to Saudi Arabia. Ronaldo's definitely done that before a lot of times before moving to Saudi Arabia. So, my first question for Osimhen, because before we go to the rest of the talk about him. Did you actually expect Arsenal to be in for Osimhen this summer, or did you, like, by the time you're entering this transfer window, you're like, no, we're definitely not going to be talking about Osimhen this summer. He's not going to be joining us. He'll be going to a different team. Is this a big surprise, or did you actually expect Arsenal to be in for him, or him being interested to join Arsenal?
Now, him being interested in in joining Arsenal is the shocking one, but
Mm,
Arsenal being interested in him is not shocking for me at all. In January,
mm,
there were two big major updates from Fabrizio. The first one was Brentford are not selling Ivan Toney, but the second one was Arsenal and Chelsea are the big machines that want to try to sign Tony and Osimhen, and they're both very aware of the release clause in the summer, and they'll try to do the deal if financially that fits their budget. So I was very sure Arsenal were going to be big on on a number 9, and I was very sure that we would be linked with Osimhen back in the summer. Of course, with the likes of Gyökeres coming in and the likes of Sesko coming in, it's been kind of a slow story. It's been kind of a slow deal, especially like I said, Arsenal don't want to be bullied in transfer windows and transfer negotiations. And Napoli at some point in time became, very strong. They have a release clause. They have a new deal with the player, so it's not as easy as it was maybe in January before he had signed that new deal, and he had put pen to paper. But I'm not surprised Arsenal are there, because if you want a number 9 and you've been planning for it since probably December, how many names do you have on that list? Like, that have consistently performed across the 3 years. You don't have so many. Solanke, not consistent for the last 3 years. Gyökeres, 1 year. The boys at Leverkusen, they have all shown at 1 year or even less. So I think Osimhen was always gonna be there. But him being interested in Arsenal, him waiting for offers, him wanting to, get Arsenal to bid. That is absolutely crazy. It makes him sound desperate. It makes him sound like a long Arsenal fan. I don't think he's a long Arsenal fan. I think he's a long Chelsea fan. I can have some confirmation on that from Nigerian Chelsea fans that are my friends. He's a big Chelsea fan. That's what I hear. So for him to be waiting for Arsenal, didn't expect that. For him to be wanting to move to Arsenal, I didn't expect that. But maybe he doesn't specifically want to move to Arsenal, but because a move to Chelsea is kind of blocked and he still wants to move the Premier League, he looks at Arsenal as the open avenue.
Yeah, so the last couple of days on the shows, both on both channels, we'll be talking about Osimhen and what we'll bring to Arsenal and all that. Now, today, I'll talk about a couple of other things as well. Now, the two things is we're going to need to sacrifice a lot of things to get Osimhen to the team. Number one, we covered it a bit yesterday. Would have to probably change the budget. If you were planning to get a 50 million striker and then a 30 million winger and then a 30 million midfield and then a 25 million defender and then maybe a 50 million goalkeeper. Let's say if we had a budget of 150 million, we're not quite sure how much we have. If it's 180 or 140 or 200. I've had a couple of suggestions from different journalists, so we're not 100% sure. So we'll have to change our budget. We'd have to say, okay, forget about signing a goalkeeper. Let's try and convince Ramsdale to stay. Or next season, we use a different goalkeeper like a Karl Hein. We'll have to convince maybe a Zinchenko to stay and tell him, listen, we're now not going to buy a defender. Zinchenko, you're going to play Tomiyasu, Timber, you're going to play, you're going to depend on you guys. And you'd probably have to say to the midfielders, listen, Partey, we need you to stay. We're not going to sign a midfielder. Jorginho, you're going to play a lot next season. We are definitely going to get just two players, a striker and a different option. Now, that could be a striker that is Osimhen, or a winger. That could be a striker and a midfielder, but you'd have to do it cheap because Osimhen would cost you like 110 million pounds. That's a lot of money. So you'd have to really sacrifice. The other thing we'd have to sacrifice is the style of play, because usually sometimes I watch Arsenal cozy and I'm like, they even confuse me. Because I see Martinelli running this side, Trossard running this side, Zinchenko is here, Ben White is here. I'm like, there's a game against West Ham when you beat them 6-0. Ben White is playing as an inverted fullback in that day. I was like, this is so confusing. Like, we're doing so much different things. Like, you'd have to be very drilled to be playing in that team. You can't just come in and play in that team. Havertz doesn't just stay in the forward line. Would Osimhen want to come to the team and be told, listen, come back to the midfield, get the ball, sometimes run to the wing, sometimes run to the right wing, don't just stay in the box. Do you think Osimhen would be ready to do all that, or that's turn him off?
I mean, it's a very, very good example, the West Ham game you brought about, because I still remember, still have mental pictures of that game. I watched and rewatched it a lot of the time. And the Bayern game at home, by the way, as well, especially in the first half, where we did a lot of good things. Like Ben White got himself in good positions on a couple of times. They just couldn't track him because Saka was stacking into midfield. Kai Havertz was drifting wide, and Ben White was the one literally playing as a centre forward some of the time. So I think with Osimhen, we have seen Mikel Arteta evolve Arsenal's tactics and Arsenal's setup. I think with Osimhen, it will be Arsenal to evolve to his style, not Osimhen to evolve to Arsenal's style. So what we've seen with Erling Haaland at Manchester City, I think him as a player, he has adapted a little bit to Manchester City's style of play. Because if we look at what he was doing at Borussia Dortmund and RB Salzburg, his pace is no longer utilized at Man City. We've got to agree. I think the main attribute that City use from him is finishing and that center forward play of holding the ball and bringing other players into play when he can, which has not actually been very, very good this season. So I think with Osimhen, we don't expect to see a Gabriel Jesus kind of guy that comes in and is switching positions. You see him on the left wing, you see him on the right wing, doing this kind of stuff. He might go there, but he wouldn't successfully beat 3 people on 3 occasions in those areas. Then the other thing with Osimhen still is his skill set is limited a little bit, right? Even if you wanted him to adapt in these other areas, his skill set is limited a little bit, and it explains why Arsenal really are trying to do whatever they can to get in a player like Benjamin Sesko, because they know with Sesko he's got a wider range of of skill set, like can play wide, can play in the middle. You can use him in different ways. With Osimhen, you know what you're getting, and not only in terms of goals, but also in terms of positioning, and also in terms of how to get what you want from him. It's about feeding him. It's about playing him centrally. It's about you playing a successful central game with very good, successful central chances created, in the penalty area. So would he actually adapt? I think it's coachable. He's just 25, 26, so it's coachable. Still young for a striker. These days they go up to 35. Still young, he's coachable, but I don't see him change much in his game. I don't see him, become Kun Aguero. I don't see him become Dimitar Berbatov. I don't see his technical Arsenal having those those kind of spare qualities that have not been unlocked. Actually, I would say with Osimhen, why many people actually want him is he has self-actualized. He's played almost each and every part of his game. He's put it out there on display. And a manager that wants to sign him, all you have to do is for you to see, okay, he's done this and this and this. He can do this and this and this. This is what I want. He's a match or he's not a match, right? But with players like Sesko, there's a lot to discover. There's a lot for you to, to find out. You could even find that he's better than Isak, maybe. But if I asked you, do you see Osimhen like an Isak? Do you really?
No.
Yeah, definitely. So I think he would have to adapt to Arsenal because he would be playing in a system that holds the ball a lot of the time, and we are stingy with releasing it. We only release it when we are sure the pass is on, and we don't have so many players that release it. It's always Odegaard and maybe one more player like Jorginho when he's on the pitch, right? So we'll have to wait a little bit longer. He'll have to make consistent runs like you see Haaland making, but not all those runs are going to be found. So he's going to have to adapt his game to Arsenal, be a little bit more patient, have a lot of have a lot of runs that are not tracked, that are not noticed, right? Because we're still passing it around and we're still making sure that our rest defense is in the right position. We're still making sure that Odegaard is on the ball, on the right time. But apart from that, I still think he comes in as a central striker. So it would be Arsenal trying to adapt more to Osimhen as compared to Osimhen trying to adapt more to Arsenal.
Now, do you think he's so good to the point where Arteta would be willing to change his idea for the summer, to change the players you wanted to buy and to change the style of play? Do you think it's worth it, like changing the budget and changing the style of play just to fit him into your team? Do you think Arteta will look at it like that? Do you think he's going to change his plans just because of Osimhen?
Yeah, that's a very, very brilliant question because he's built this style of play. He's built towards a 4-3-3 for 5 consecutive years. And he's come very close with a 4-3-3. That fluidity up top, that versatility from players up top, and their technical ability. He believes in it. He believes in goals from all corners of the pitch as compared to goals just from one guy, one mega striker. So I would say there is no way Mikel Arteta's ego is bending to the demands of one striker. I don't see how a Nigerian boy is bending the ego of Mikel Arteta. That is not happening. And this is why I think. So with Osimhen at 25, Mikel Arteta would have the mentality that he can coach whatever ideas he has in him and he can change him rather than adapting the whole half a decade strategy. Changing the whole half a decade strategy to suit a 25-year-old striker who's actually going to be in his prime. Now, if it was a manager like Carlo Ancelotti, it was a manager like who else do I? Zinedine Zidane. Those are managers that are very pragmatic. They go with the winning way, and they will find a winning way. And then, as long as it's working, that is what they present to you, ladies and gentlemen. Real Madrid 24-25. Kylian Mbappe is coming to your forward line. Therefore, Jude Bellingham is not going to score many goals. Hooray, hooray, hooray. That is, that's the new strategy. I think with Mikel Arteta, he's the other way around. He prefers to have a certain doctrine, a certain, a certain way of playing his football. And then when you bring in a player, you find a role. He creates roles in his system. He doesn't create positions for players. So it's about, and you always talk about the 180 pages. I think those 180 pages are very necessary because Mikel Arteta is always thinking, what if he cannot play at left wing? Can he play as central striker? What if he can't play as central striker in this system? Can he play as central midfielder? That's what we've seen with Kai. Like, when you think about Kai and the players we've signed, failing is almost impossible because you're going to be grilled and grilled and grilled in different positions until you find a role that actually suits you in the system. So with Arteta bending his standards for Osimhen or for one striker, even if you're Robert Lewandowski, I don't see that happening. I don't see him, gamble everything he's worked on, everything he's he's gone and taught this team for him just to change that for one player. That is not happening. No way.
The second part of that question is: do you think he should change, or do you think he should stick to his plan because it's been close to happening twice? Do you think he should be willing to change it for one player?
Actually, and then you asked me whether Osimhen is worth it. So should he change? For me, at the moment, no. We struggled at the beginning of last season a little bit. It was not even all. It wasn't just about Arsenal's football not being attractive. Yes, we did win games, and many games, by the way, but our football was a little bit um, more of a performance of a less well-oiled machine. It was more of performances of a team that was trying to find patterns. Odegaard and Kai and Rice. Partey playing at right back, Julian Timber coming in at left back. David Dreyer. After the international break coming in, and then he's still a little bit
Havertz in
shaky.
midfield.
Havertz in midfield. So it was a very, very unwell old machine. And we all say if Mikel Arteta had kept the starting 11 from the previous season, we would have won more games probably in the first half of the season, and you never know what could have happened in the second half of the season, right? So for me, he shouldn't change it. He shouldn't change it. It is proven, it is working, right? And the reason as to why we are not winning the Premier League at the moment is not because we are not having a good system or our system is having problems. It's because Man City are too good, and there's some hypocrites on the internet like me who have said that Manchester City are 7 years in front of us. That was just 3 years ago. And then today I want Arsenal to win the title right away against Man City, and I'm like, really? Have we really closed the 7 years gap? We have not really closed the 7 years gap. Like, yes, I want us to win, but realistically, the 7 years have not been closed, successfully. So because it has taken him time, like 4 years to build, right? And he has yielded points, 88, 89, 84. I am sure, right? Mikel believes in this, but also the players, that are part of this, believe in it. Just imagine you having every pundit saying Arsenal are the best team in the Premier League right now. They play the best football. Manchester City are just history, right? They're how is it called, heritage. But in terms of the team that you would want to watch, in terms of, because with Arsenal, you're sure you're going to have a great performance, regardless of what happens. You're going to have a good performance. Either we will give away some chances and you'll enjoy the game, or we'll score some spectacular goals, like we said last night. We are one of the teams that have just scored beautiful goals across the board. So don't change it, please. Don't change it for one season. Let's go in with something we expect, like City do. Maybe you could change a few tweaks here and there to confuse opponents and to freshen it a little bit. But I don't want to see Kai Havertz now playing at right back. I want to see Kai Havertz at left wing because Osimhen is coming in. I don't want to see Odegaard now playing as a six because Osimhen is coming in. I would want to keep it consistent, keep it very predictable. Just change the way we approach games so that teams are taken by surprise. Now, is Osimhen worth it? That's a brilliant question there. I think because Arsenal are desperate, like really, 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 really desperate to sign a striker, we might have to. We are desperate.
I still don't think you're desperate. 90
No,
goals.
we honestly, I think we are desperate for a number 9. Like, not in terms of needs, but in terms of what we're going to do this summer. It's all out there. It's all out there. I don't think anyone thinks, oh, Arsenal are really going to focus on a left back. I think everyone knows that Arsenal want to bolster that forward line. I think we are really desperate. So we might have to commit, right? We might have to commit to him that you're going to play, and maybe we'll play a system that actually favors you. But for me, he's not a Robert Lewandowski yet. He's not a Karim Benzema yet. He's not a Kun Aguero yet. He's not Fernando Torres, prime Fernando Torres. He's not prime Luis Suarez, right? So if it's about him setting goals for his career, that's all right. But if it's about us really bending for him, is it worth it? I wouldn't say yes. I've seen better strikers. I've seen quality strikers. I wouldn't say Osimhen
No.
is is top of the world.
Now that is in terms of the pitch. What about outside the pitch, off the pitch? Do you think Arteta will change his plans in terms of signing Sesko just to get Osimhen because he feels like he's going to get more goals? Because today it was reported that Arsenal want to secure the signing of Leipzig forward Benjamin Sesko before his release clause ends in June. As we already know, you're trying to do that before the Euro. So do you think Osimhen is so good to the point of where Arteta will be like, okay, Sesko, we've changed our mind on you. We're going in a different direction and then go for Osimhen. Do you think he won't change his mind in terms of off the pitch? He could end up getting both if he has to, but not leave Sesko out just to get Osimhen.
No, I actually don't see it as a deal that is being pushed from the inside. I think it's a deal that's being pushed from the outside. And with Arsenal, I've not seen so much of those deals work. I've not seen so many of those deals where it's the player's side pushing more than Arsenal pushing more. I've not seen them work very much. Like maybe, but not really. So I don't remember a day when Arsenal were not, were interested in a player minimally, and their interest was maximized because the player's side is really, really pushing to call Arsenal to bid. No. Now, will Mikel Arteta change his perspective and plan for the window? That is never going to happen. He's one stubborn guy. When he says that I want Martin Odegaard with less experience, with no Premier League football experience, with a doubt whether he's going to hit his levels over James Maddison, who has a finished article, he will get Martin Odegaard and he will die to make him work. And we all know that Odegaard has had a rough patch here and there until the polished article that everyone is talking about, Arsenal captain and all that. So I think with Osimhen, he stands a very little chance to come to Arsenal because the plan has been drawn and Arsenal's plan fits what we want to do very well, right?
Yeah.
It allows us to sign a couple of players across the board. It allows us to sign more players in terms of numbers as compared to one or two. And also, I think Mikel Arteta is just concerned now about how do I replace the quality I'm going to be losing in this summer transfer window, right? Because this is the right time to sell. Arsenal have arrived at the right time to sell. But as you sell, you must be able to replace. So if you go and spend almost 3/4 of the budget on one guy, are you going to be able to replace the quality? For example, if Fulham really bid well for Emile Smith Rowe and he agrees to join them, right? And then you lose another player, maybe you lose an Alexander Zinchenko, and maybe you lose Edin Keter as well. Are you going to be able to replace these players after spending 3/4 of your budget on one guy? You're not going to be able to do that. So I think Arsenal's plan is clear, transparent. We can all see through. It's about more quality. It's about numbers. Like when we play the Champions League, can we trust Fabio Vieira? But then can we bring in a player like Yusuf Fofana that we can trust alongside him? Yes. Can we go out there and sign Benjamin Sesko and then he doesn't play against Aston Villa over the weekend, but he starts as number 9 in the Champions League? Yes. Right. So I think with Osimhen, the plan would have been different if Kai Havertz had failed, both in midfield and attack. So Osimhen's plan, that is where his plan would actually be activated. Let's go out there and sign a number 9. We don't have anyone that has the qualities that we want up top. I bet in terms of being a presser, Kai Havertz is much better than Victor Osimhen. He'll win the ball back better. He leads the press better. And because he's a midfielder, he knows how to win the ball back because he literally, he was built and he was, taught on how to avoid losing the ball, right? So he can anticipate what defenders and midfielders are going to do because that is what he would do. Osimhen is the opposite. So for me, I don't see Mikel Arteta changing. I don't think Mikel Arteta will change. He shouldn't change. And with Kai Havertz, the dynamics are already laid. The foundations have already been laid. The standards have already been laid. He is going to be the number 9. 65 million. I don't see how Mikel Arteta explained to the board that we signed him for midfield. He has actually failed. I want a striker, so I'm going to get rid of him. It's better for you to utilize your 20 goal contribution striker next season, and then you just bring in someone who can complement him and even work in tandem with him.
It makes sense. Makes sense. So, I personally don't think you should change it anyway. You can't make plans for 6 months and then change it for one player. I mean, as you said, sometimes if the player is like completely, I know he's a very good player, but in terms of if it was like a Mbappe
Yeah,
with good attitude, a
yeah,
good attitude Mbappe, or someone like a Messi, then you can completely change everything because we didn't know he was going to be available. But in
mm,
terms of changing the whole system, and then basically you're going to need all the other players to learn another different system just because of Osimhen, and then it could take another 1 year or 2 years. That's why I usually don't like changing managers, especially if you're seeing something. I don't like changing everything and then beginning all again when you're trying to see
yeah.
something. So just short answers for the next question. They're very short. Which player do you think would benefit the most if Osimhen came in?
If Odegaard,
What about Sesko?
Kai Havertz,
Kai Havertz makes sense. That would have been my same answers as well. Those through passes
yeah,
to Osimhen. Odegaard loves playing the balls very quickly as well.
yeah,
Like if his accurate passes, creating 100 plus chances, and Sesko and Havertz, that combination would be very great.
yeah.
Or maybe it wouldn't be Havertz, and maybe it wouldn't be Odegaard in that position. Maybe it could be Fabio Vieira. Arsenal have confirmed that. Okay, not confirmed, but reports suggest that Fabio Vieira is expected to stay at Arsenal this summer. Fabio Vieira is not one of the players Arsenal are happy to sell for the right price this summer. Mikel Arteta views him as an important member of the squad and rates him highly. Now, that's very surprising to hear. Very, very surprising. I never thought I'd hear that Fabio Vieira is that key. Like, for me, last season, I expected him to have a good season. I said I didn't want to sell him at the beginning of last season. I said give him a second season. I don't like selling players after one season. Give him a second season. I predicted him to be the surprise of the season. And from what it was looking like in the beginning of the season, I was like, I could be right with this one because, good came off the bench, got an assist for Nketiah against Fulham, came off the bench, got an assist for Jesus against Man United the first 4 games. Almost won us the game against Fulham. We were unlucky to concede after that. And then got us the clinching goal against Man United. And then he was looking good against Everton after the international break. It was looking good. He was even starting. People were even asking at that time for Havertz to be dropped because that Vieira plays the second number 8. Now, let's go back to his FC Porto days because at the time he was signed from FC Porto because at that time, Smith Rowe was coming off a very good season, 2021, 2022. Xhaka was still here in that midfield position, number 8 position. Partey was still here. Odegaard was still kind of new, 1 year, 2 years, 1 year, and then another few months on loan. So you didn't really know which position was playing. But the fee we paid for him, and considering before he left for FC Porto, he had just garnered 6 goals and 14 assists, 20 goal contributions in that 2021-2022 season. It was looking like he was going to be, a very good player at Arsenal. So when he signed for Arsenal, did you expect him to be a starter at that time? Because at that time we didn't have Jorginho, we didn't have Rice and all these guys, and a couple more others. Trossard was not here, and all those guys. Did you expect him to be a starter at the time we splashed 42 million for him? Because we did it very early in the window as well.
I expected him to start for Arsenal 1,000,000%. And I remember the tactical analysis all of us made, me, The Athletic, transfers.com, was about the double 8, where you have Thomas Partey at the base of the midfield, you have Fabio Vieira at left 8, and you have Martin Odegaard right 8. That is that is what we had expected, because we had been introduced to a Granit Xhaka who was playing kind of half midfield, half attack, and Xhaka was getting more in the penalty area. Xhaka was getting more chances, and he was scoring less and he was converting less. And we said, what if we had a number 8 that is naturally creative, that is naturally good at scoring goals? This is going to be massive. I tell you what, Mikel Arteta didn't even try to play him there. Like, he never played him there. He never tried to play him there. I've never understood that decision. But also, he came in that season with an injury. He came in that summer with that injury. Kind of affected him. Didn't have a good preseason. And that's why I don't want players to come in with injuries. Our players to come in late. They don't have a preseason. They have to get all the information.
You're right. I actually forgot about that. I forgot he didn't play preseason the first season. He missed a lot of games.
He didn't have a preseason. So I expected him to start because there was a role for him. But that left-hand side for Arsenal is more complicated in the world than anything Pep Guardiola has even ever seen. For you to play in that left 8 spot, Defensively, you have to be on top of your game. We are talking Xhaka, we are talking um, Declan Rice. Like you must be good. And even Kai Havertz, when he plays there, you look at the recoveries he makes. You look at his physicality. He, it, you must be able to defend. That is number one. Secondly, you must have the engine for you to run back and defend very well and cover for whoever is out of position. But also, you must have the engine to run back when those chances are created in the penalty area. You must be one of the players that have positioned themselves to finish off those chances. Now, what does Fabio Vieira have among those qualities? He's just a creative player. I don't see him as the relentless presser. I don't see him as a physical beast. I don't see him as a 90 minutes player that is trying to create a lot of chaos like Xhaka or Declan Rice. I don't see him. He's a very calm figure. He's a very calm and composed player, and that's why Mikel is trying to play him out wide as compared, in the Saka space as compared to in the midfield, because Arsenal's midfield is the cooking center. That is where we prepare whatever people eat, on DSTV and Pamplay and whatever. That is where we cook, right? So I expected him to start. I don't think he will leave. I think there will be a time for him where he starts for Arsenal. Like I will bank on it.
I don't think there's a time he's going to start, but it's good to hear that Arteta wants him to stay, because a couple of months ago we heard that Arteta is not happy with Vieira's training, and he came back against FC Porto away from home, and from that point on, from February all the way to May, he never started a game. I think he only came off the bench like twice. He was literally sitting on the bench. Elneny was coming on when you're 6-0 up. Cedric was coming on. Smith Rowe got a couple of starts. Nelson got a start against Luton. Vieira never really got a start. And I actually thought, like, I don't think he's going to have a space in this team. I wanted him to have a good season. I was giving him a second season. I don't even really know how to judge his season because I was expecting more from him, but he got injured again. You now reminded me that he was also injured before he joined Arsenal. So is he injury prone? Is he too weak for the Premier League? I remember that is what people said when he first joined. Discipline again, red card, a couple of yellow cards. Is that all a concern?
For me, no. None of that is a concern.
What did you rate his time at Arsenal out of 10 before you answer that?
Like 2 out of 10. Like there is nothing we've seen. There's nothing we've seen. I would rate Edin Nketiah's season better because I have statistics and data. I can't rate Vieira's time at Arsenal, honestly.
2 seasons, actually. 2 seasons. So the only thing you can say is scored a very good goal against Barcelona in preseason, and he scored the winning penalty against Man City, the Community Shield.
Exactly.
That's it.
But why I am telling you that he will start games for Arsenal is his level of technical ability. Now, if you've seen with Mikel Arteta, when he likes you, he likes you. But when you're able, he respects you. And you've seen it with Odegaard, you've seen it with players like Declan Rice, you've seen it with players like Gabriel Jesus and Trossard. He respects players that he knows are massive talents and they've got that level of ability. He's got a few favorites, obviously, and that's where Vieira has got a problem because he's got to get ahead of Arteta's favorites. But I see him as part of that well-respected cohort. And the other reason as to why I see him stay is Mikel looks at him, and even if you're an Arsenal fan, we still have that picture of he's able, he can create a difference, right? And we saw that in games at the beginning of the season where we thought, wow, this was going to be this was going to be his season. Now, does he have problems in training? I think that could be coming from frustration. High quality players and high achievers in life, they will get frustrated if things are not going their way. And Mikel Arteta knows that, and I think at times he's been a brutal man manager, but at times he's been a very, very good man manager. So he will understand that as a player, Fabio Vieira wants to achieve, and he thinks he should be starting for Arsenal in this setup. He thinks he has a position to play in this setup, right? So I am not concerned about his injuries. I don't think he's a player that I would say his injuries are really on his neck. one red card, a few yellow cards. I wouldn't mind that. Maybe the physicality level. And I think we were talking about, I don't remember what we were talking about before we came on the show. And we were saying in the Premier League, right? In a setup like Arsenal's and City's, being press proof is more important than how tall you are and how huge you are. Like if you're
Mhm.
press proof, you've got a bigger chance of retaining your place in Arsenal's setup as compared to you being as big as Makelele or as big as Patrick Vieira. So with Fabio Vieira, he's not press proof. And that is coming from the fact that he's bullied off the ball, by Premier League defenders and Premier League midfielders. That is
Mhm.
coming from the fact that he's not using his body well. He's not using his, intelligence well to anticipate position, to anticipate situations. So if he can anticipate situations, if he can find a way of keeping the manager's ball safe, every manager wants a player he can trust. Creatively, I think Mikel Arteta can trust him. We saw him come on in games that were locked in the first part of the season, and he unlocked them, and he was the difference, and he was a difference maker. And that showed that Mikel Arteta had him among his plans, right? That this season, when we are 2-0 up, he will come on. When we are 1-1, he will come on and he will create a difference. And I think there's so many things that they've worked on with Fabio Vieira in the last 2 seasons, especially
Mhm.
this season. What we have seen with him is his quickness in decision making. Like he's been very very quick, but also in terms of just in terms of knowing himself, and his surrounding, he scans better, and he knows that he's not physical, so he's releasing the ball a little bit better. So I see him as a work in progress, vis-a-vis to a not trusted player by Mikel.
Yeah, actually, I apologize in terms of the discipline. I just realized since he came to Arsenal, he's never actually picked up a yellow card. It was just that red card. His
A red card.
numbers, his numbers. He's played 33 games for Arsenal now. In terms of the league, now it's difficult to judge that because a lot of them are also from the bench. But I mean, he really needs a consistent season. He scored 2 goals in 2 seasons, and one of them was a penalty. And he's also had 4 assists. So in terms of what we're expecting from 42 million, that is nowhere near. But let's hope that next season he does have a good season. Now, lastly, because it goes well with this, we've been talking about Smith Rowe the last couple of days, and this is what was reported today. Fulham have made Emile Smith Rowe one of their summer transfer priorities and are ready to bid for the player early in the window. A sale would represent pure profit for Arsenal from a profit and sustainability perspective. Now, a couple of questions for you in terms of Smith Rowe, because we talked about him in detail yesterday. Now, do you think this? Yesterday, you told me you expect him to leave.
Yeah.
So since now Vieira is going to stay, does that even make you more convinced that he's going to leave?
Actually, I did a show today where I told people that the fact that Fabio Vieira is being reported as a concrete option to stay, whoever likes Emile Smith Rowe, just leave the show right now.
Mm.
And I saw a drop in numbers.
Okay, interesting. So if
but
it drops in numbers, okay, guy.
yeah, but I think with Mikel at the moment, he's got to make a decision, tough decision, really, really tough decision, because both of them are quality talents, but you're not really sure who is going to blossom. So it's a gamble. It's a huge gamble. You could get it 100% right. You could get it horribly wrong. Imagine if Emile Smith Rowe goes and does a Cole Palmer at Aston Villa.
Interesting. So I have a comment from a fan on Twitter who was talking about Smith. Kind of hurt me. I was like, oh no, but it could be true. I don't know. This is what he had to say. Maybe you share the same uh opinion. He said Emile Smith is such a unique profile and player to find. That one I agree. However, I think there's a romantic idea of him coming up and succeeding at Arsenal, and to fit that narrative, we envisage him to be much better than he actually is. Do you think we asked fans? Because yesterday I remember when I said something about him, he told me I'm trying to look at the positives in the games that he played. Do you think he's not that good? Because I've had people saying he's not that good. Stop, let him go.
Ridiculous. That's absolutely ridiculous. I've said this on this channel, and I'm not going to eat my words, guys. You can anyone should remember this. Emile Smith Rowe is destined to achieve, um, I would say, world class status. He might not get there, but he's destined to achieve world class status. In this Arsenal setup, in this Arsenal squad at the moment, he's top 5 in terms of talent. It's not debatable, it is not delusion. I want you to assess him against every single player in terms of talent, raw talent, pure talent. Top 5 for me, top 5. So people saying he's not as good enough, and of course, players have always said that fans change quickly. Like fans change very very quickly. They are not as reliable as you would say your manager or your teammates. If Emil Smith Rowe, if we delete the last 2 years and we just focus on that season where he was Arsenal's best player, Arsenal's one of the leading goal scorers, right? I don't think anyone would actually make such a statement. I don't think anyone would come out to say we overhype him, we overrate him. He's not as good as what we think. Like, how can you make such a statement? Like, how? So for me, it's pure frustration from the fans that they have not seen what they would have expected out of Emile Smith Rowe, and I would understand that, right? We have all said, okay, no, we don't think that Ben White is worth 50 million. I don't think we are, he's good as what we thought. And then he's pulled a season where he's been the best right back across the Premier League. And everyone, every English fan has gone, how can he reject England? He's gonna regret this. But you said he wasn't good enough. You said he's not 50 million. You said he was not the guy. You can use Max Aaron's. Is he Jamaican these days? I don't know.
I remember Max Aaron's. We're linked to
Yeah,
goodness me.
yeah, exactly. So for me, Emile Smith Rowe, if anyone wants him out, and if there is a reason why he has to leave Arsenal, is to get game time, is to build a career, is to not let his talent get wasted. I don't know why I really see kind of a disaster future, because for me, when I look at him, he reminds me a little bit of Jack Wilshere. So I'm like, don't have a career like Wilshere's. Go on and achieve something. Go on and do you. The good thing with the Premier League these days is you have 8, 9 top teams that are going to be exchanging European positions. I want to see him win the Conference League. I want to see him win the Europa League. Potentially, if he goes to a club like Liverpool, I mean, it's highly unlikely, but if he goes to a club like Liverpool, or if he goes to a club like Newcastle, you will see him in a UCL semi-final. So it's utter nonsense that someone thinks Emile Smith Rowe is overrated.
And if you go and read those replies, there's a lot of people who agree and disagree. So it's an interesting one. So 8, 9 quick fire questions, just 1 or 2 word answers at most, involving both of those players. Are you happy with Vieira staying next season?
Not happy, but
just 2
I'll
word,
give him
1 or 2.
Okay,
give him a chance.
Not happy.
Okay, not happy. Okay. Are you happy with both of them staying at the same time?
No.
Do you think Smith Rowe needs a loan next season?
Loan? It's difficult because it allows us to keep him. Yes.
Do you think Vieira needs a loan?
No.
If they both stay, which position do you think Smith Rowe will be used the most?
Left 8. Yeah, left 8.
Vieira?
He's played more of the Saka position, so I would still go with the right wing. I still go with the right wing.
If they leave, how much do you think we should get for Smith Rowe?
Smith Rowe, minimum 40 million euros.
Vieira?
Difficult. I think you're just going to pull 20 million euros.
Wow. And next season, biggest question, who do you think would do the most for us next season?
In terms of positions that are available and roles that are available, Fabio Vieira.
Interesting. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to catch me and Cozy on his channel later on today. Let us know what you make of the Osimhen. We've talked about 5 or 6 different topics on Osimhen and then Sesko as well, and Vieira. That's a lot on Vieira as well. Let us know what you make of Vieira and also Smith. Are you happy with both of them staying? Do you want both of them to leave? Do you think any of them is important next season? Do you think we overhype him? Do you think is any of them is too overrated? Let us know all that. Thank you for watching. Catch up with you guys on the next one.